Welcome to another thrilling episode of Kabuma Travel, where we dive into the most intriguing places around the globe. Today, we're heading to the vibrant and enigmatic island of Cuba, a place renowned for its rich history and colorful culture. But Cuba is not just about salsa music and classic cars. There's a deeper layer to this Caribbean gem. Beyond the picturesque streets and sunny beaches, Cuba is filled with cultural nuances and social taboos that might surprise even the most seasoned travelers. We're going to explore the 15 taboos in Cuba and strange facts you won't believe exist. But before we dive in, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notification bell to stay updated on our latest travel escapades. Now, let's embark on this fascinating journey. Number 1. Speaking openly against the government. In Cuba, openly criticizing the government is a significant taboo. This stems from the country's strict regulations on freedom of speech and expression under the communist regime. Many citizens avoid discussing political topics in public to avoid scrutiny by authorities. The government controls most media outlets, making it challenging to express dissenting views. Tourists are also advised to steer clear of political debates to avoid any legal issues. Conversations about politics, if they occur, are often done in hushed tones and private settings. This environment has fostered a culture of caution and secrecy around political expression. Despite the restrictions, underground networks and online platforms have emerged as spaces for Cubans to share their views. However, these activities can still be risky, and people caught spreading anti-government sentiment can face severe consequences. This taboo reflects the broader issues of governance and human rights in Cuba, which are often subjects of international concern. Over time, this has shaped a societal norm where political conformity is generally observed, and deviations are treated with suspicion. Number 2. Eating beef without permission. In Cuba, consuming beef is not just unusual, it's regulated. The government controls the distribution of beef, and its consumption is reserved for certain occasions and people, like tourists in hotels or the elderly in state-run homes. Ordinary citizens cannot slaughter their cattle without government permission, which is rarely granted. This restriction is rooted in economic and agricultural policies aimed at maintaining cattle populations. As a result, beef is a luxury for many Cubans, and eating it without authorization can lead to fines or even jail time. This has led to a black market for beef, where it is sold at high prices away from official scrutiny. The taboo around beef consumption highlights the struggles within the Cuban food system and the discrepancies in food access between tourists and locals. It also underscores the broader economic challenges faced by the island, including food scarcity and rationing. Social gatherings rarely feature beef, and its consumption is a sign of social status or special dispensation. The desire for beef has also fostered a culture of ingenuity, with people finding creative ways to obtain and share this scarce commodity. Number 3. Displaying religious symbols publicly. Cuba's relationship with religion has been complex, particularly since the rise of the communist government, which promotes atheism. Displaying religious symbols publicly was once heavily discouraged, reflecting the state's secular ideology. Over the decades, this stance has softened, allowing for greater religious expression, but remnants of the old taboos still exist. Many older Cubans remember times when wearing a crucifix or other religious insignia could invite discrimination or worse. As a result, some still hesitate to display their faith openly. This is slowly changing, with more visible religious activities and processions than in the past. However, in some professional and educational settings, overt religious displays can still be frowned upon. The gradual acceptance of public religious expressions reflects the changing dynamics of Cuban society and its evolving relationship with spirituality. Despite these changes, the tension between traditional religious practices and the secular state remains a sensitive aspect of Cuban life. Younger generations are more likely to challenge these norms, indicating a shift in cultural attitudes towards religion. Number 4. Homosexuality and LGBTQ+ rights. Cuba has a complicated history with LGBTQ+ rights. Homosexuality was once considered a taboo and was severely persecuted under early revolutionary policies. This included forced labor camps in the 1960s for those identified as homosexual. Over time, attitudes have shifted, largely due to advocacy by influential figures like Mariela Castro, daughter of Raúl Castro. Today, there are more protections and a growing acceptance of LGBTQ+ individuals, but challenges remain. Public displays of affection between same-sex couples, while increasingly common, can still attract negative attention in more conservative areas. The government has begun to support some LGBTQ+ rights, including gender reassignment surgery and anti-discrimination laws. However, the taboo surrounding homosexuality has not entirely disappeared, and many LGBTQ individuals still face social stigma. Cuba's evolving stance on LGBTQ rights reflects broader changes in societal norms, but it also highlights the ongoing struggle for acceptance and equality. Festivals and public events promoting LGBTQ rights have become more frequent, signifying a slow but significant cultural shift. Number 5. Talking about money or salaries. In Cuba, discussing one's income or financial status is considered impolite and is generally avoided in casual conversation. This is partly because of the widespread economic equality imposed by the communist system, where most salaries are state-regulated and relatively uniform. Talking about personal wealth can be seen as boastful or insensitive, given the economic hardships many Cubans face. There is also a cultural element to this taboo, as Cuban society values humility and solidarity over individual economic success. This norm extends to asking about prices or haggling too aggressively, which can be perceived as rude or greedy. In business dealings, discussions of money are conducted discreetly to maintain professionalism and respect. The reluctance to discuss financial matters openly also stems from a distrust of the stability of the Cuban economy, which has experienced significant inflation and scarcity. People often rely on informal networks and remittances from abroad, which further complicates open discussions about money. This taboo is indicative of the broader challenges in the Cuban economy, including low wages and limited access to goods. Despite these challenges, Cubans often display remarkable resilience and creativity in managing their economic circumstances. Number 6. Rejecting a gift or favor. In Cuban culture, rejecting a gift or favor is considered extremely impolite and can even be seen as an insult. This is because interpersonal relationships and community bonds are highly valued, and such exchanges are viewed as expressions of goodwill and solidarity. Accepting a gift, regardless of one's personal interest or need, is seen as acknowledging and respecting the giver's effort and kindness. Gifts are often reciprocated, not necessarily in material terms, but through mutual assistance or another favor, thereby strengthening community ties. This practice is particularly important in a society where resources can be scarce and mutual support is crucial for survival. The act of giving is imbued with a sense of duty and respect, and rejecting this can disrupt social harmony. This is why, at social gatherings or in daily interactions, Cubans will often go out of their way to ensure that gifts are accepted and appreciated. This norm also reflects the Cuban ethos of sharing and solidarity, which transcends material possessions and is about maintaining social cohesion. Even in times of scarcity, the exchange of gifts remains a significant aspect of Cuban social life, reinforcing the importance of community and shared identity. Number 7. Wasting food. Wasting food is a major taboo in Cuba, where economic hardships and food scarcity are common issues. The Cuban government has implemented rationing systems and tightly controls food distribution, making every bit of food valuable. As such, there is a strong cultural emphasis on not wasting any food, and meals are often planned to ensure nothing goes unused. This attitude extends from households to larger social gatherings, where it is common to see people taking leftovers home. In many Cuban families, recipes and cooking methods have evolved to use every possible part of available ingredients, reflecting an ingrained respect for the food they have. This practice is not only a necessity, but also a point of pride, as it demonstrates resourcefulness and resilience. In educational settings, children are taught from a young age the importance of conserving food and the efforts involved in its production. The taboo against wasting food is so strong that it can even influence social behavior, with people being judged or criticized for leaving food on their plates. This reflects broader themes of survival and efficiency that are central to Cuban identity. Number 8. Asking too many questions. In Cuban society, there is a certain reticence about being too inquisitive, especially regarding personal matters or anything that could be seen as prying. This stems from a history of surveillance and mistrust during various political regimes, where asking too many questions could attract unwanted attention or be misconstrued as espionage. Additionally, in a culture where privacy can be scarce, many families live in close quarters or shared spaces. Maintaining personal boundaries is important. There's also an element of politeness in this, as being overly curious about others' affairs can be seen as disrespectful or intrusive. This norm influences social interactions, where people often rely on indirect communication styles and nonverbal cues to convey messages without explicit questioning. In professional settings, too, there is a tendency to navigate around direct questions to avoid confrontation or discomfort. While younger generations may be more open and direct, the traditional ethos of discretion and subtlety in questioning still holds significant sway in Cuban culture. This approach to communication reflects a broader emphasis on community harmony and respect for individual privacy. Number 9, leaving the elderly in care homes. In Cuban culture, family ties are extremely strong, and the idea of placing elderly relatives in care homes is often seen as neglectful. Families typically care for their aging members within the home, where they are integrated into daily life and activities. This practice is not only a reflection of familial duty, but also of the limited availability and sometimes questionable quality of elder care facilities in Cuba. The responsibility of caring for the elderly is usually shared among family members, with a focus on providing emotional support and maintaining dignity in old age. This approach is deeply rooted in the Cuban value system, which respects and venerates the elderly for their wisdom and contributions to the family. It's common to see multiple generations living under one roof, sharing responsibilities and resources. The taboo against care homes also reflects broader social expectations about loyalty and reciprocity between generations. In recent years, economic pressures and changing social dynamics have begun to challenge this tradition, but the preference for family-based elder care remains strong. This norm reinforces the importance of family in Cuban society and highlights the collective approach to facing life's challenges. Number 10, ignoring Santeria rituals. Santeria, a syncretic religion that blends African spiritual traditions with Catholicism, is widely practiced in Cuba and holds significant cultural influence. Ignoring or mocking the rituals and practices of Santeria is considered highly disrespectful. This religion, brought to Cuba by African slaves, has deep roots in the island's history and identity. Practitioners believe in the power of orishas, deities, to influence daily life and offer protection and guidance. Santeria rituals, including offerings, dances, and ceremonies, are common and are treated with respect, even by non-practitioners. The religion also plays a role in community bonding and cultural preservation. Mocking or dismissing these practices can alienate individuals and communities, as it shows disrespect for their beliefs and heritage. Despite varying levels of belief and participation, there is a general consensus in Cuban society to respect the practices of Santeria. This reflects the broader theme of religious tolerance and the integration of different cultural elements into Cuban life. The acceptance and respect for Santeria also signify the resilience of cultural traditions, even in the face of historical challenges and changes. Number 11, skipping the line or queue jumping. In Cuba, as in many places, skipping ahead in line is considered extremely rude, but here it carries an added layer of social taboo due to the country's history of shortages and rationing. The act of queue jumping is seen as not only an infringement on social etiquette, but also as an unfair advantage in situations where resources are limited. People spend long hours waiting for services or goods, from bakery items to bus tickets, and maintaining order in the queue is viewed as a shared responsibility. Disrespecting the queue can lead to public reprimand and is seen as a breach of collective trust. The emphasis on fairness and patience in lines is a reflection of the broader Cuban value of community and equality. This norm fosters a sense of solidarity and respect among Cubans, especially in challenging economic times. Number 12, refusing to participate in community events. Community involvement is highly valued in Cuba, where local festivals, street parties, and neighborhood projects are central to social life. Refusing to participate in these communal activities can be seen as distancing oneself from the community's collective spirit. Such events are not only social, but also carry a sense of collective achievement and pride. They often involve music, dance, and traditional foods, serving as important cultural expressions. Non-participation can be interpreted as a lack of interest in one's neighbors and local traditions, which is frowned upon. This taboo reinforces the Cuban emphasis on solidarity and the importance of maintaining strong, supportive community networks. Number 13, hoarding or stockpiling goods. Given the economic constraints and rationing systems in Cuba, hoarding or stockpiling goods is particularly taboo. It is seen as selfish and detrimental to the community at large, which often relies on shared resources to get by. During periods of scarcity, which are not uncommon, hoarding can exacerbate shortages and deny others access to basic necessities. This behavior is legally and socially discouraged, and there is a moral expectation that one should only take what one needs. The stigma attached to hoarding is a reflection of the collective approach to consumption and survival in Cuban society, emphasizing fairness and mutual support over individual gain. Number 14, public intoxication. While Cuba is famous for its rum and vibrant nightlife, public intoxication is viewed negatively. Drunken behavior in public contravenes the Cuban social norm of maintaining decorum and respectability in communal spaces. It is considered disrespectful and can lead to legal troubles, as it disrupts public order and safety. The social stigma associated with public intoxication is a part of a larger cultural emphasis on personal responsibility and respect for others. Even in festive settings, there is an expectation to drink responsibly and maintain control, reflecting the broader social norms around alcohol consumption and public behavior. Number 15, discussing emigration openly. In Cuba, discussing plans to emigrate or talking positively about life in other countries can be sensitive topics. Due to the political and economic situation, emigration can be seen as a rejection of Cuban life and, by extension, its governmental policies. Such discussions are often avoided in public and can attract unwanted attention from authorities. Families often speak about emigration plans in private, mindful of the implications it might have on their social standing and safety. This taboo reflects the complex relationship between national identity and the realities of Cuban diaspora, where loyalty to one's country and the pursuit of better opportunities abroad are often in tension. The sensitivity around this topic underscores the deep-seated challenges and aspirations faced by many Cubans, both at home and abroad. And there you have it, the 15 taboos in Cuba, and strange facts you won't believe exist. This captivating island is full of surprises, and we've only scratched the surface. If you're planning a trip to Cuba, be sure to keep an eye out for these unique aspects of Cuban culture. Thanks for watching Kabuma Travel, and as always, stay curious and keep exploring the world around you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. See you next time.